Alright, hello 5th grade. Today is day 45 of our video lessons. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe and staying healthy. A quick reminder to please make sure that you have been completing all of your Seesaw assignments. Today you're going to have a worksheet to complete on Seesaw for math and another worksheet to complete for science on Seesaw as well. Alright, so that's all the announcements I have. Just please be sure that you're completing all of your assignments. This is your warm-up. Pause the video and get started. Alright, so number 1 asks us to write 1 1/10 as a decimal. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do that just right here at the bottom. So, if I have 1 1/10, well, as a decimal, we're going to have that as 1 whole and 1/10, 1.1. Now, how do we know this is correct? Well, we have to make sure that we understand our place value chart, right? If we make a place value chart, this number is in my ones place, correct? Ones. And then this number is in my tenths place. Right, so it makes sense. This number right here, 1 whole number, that's my big number, 1 whole. And then my fraction, my tenth, it's in my 10th place, okay? And that's it. So 1 1/10 as a decimal is 1.1. All right, now let's go ahead and do number 2. All right, number 2 says 1.84 as a fraction. All right, so now we're doing the opposite. Now we have a decimal, and we need to write that as a fraction. Well, one thing we can use again is we can use a place value chart. Right, so here I have my ones place. So that's like my large number. My ones. My 8 is in my 10th place, and my 4 is in my 100th place. So I have 8 400ths, 400ths. So then that means it's going to have to be 84 over 100th, okay? So one thing I look at is my last digit and what place value it's on. So this 4 is in my 100ths place, so I know that automatically it's going to be over 100. All right, and that's it. So today our objective is going to be for math. We are going to learn how to multiply decimals using 2 different ways. And one of those ways I think you're kind of familiar with already. We've been doing it even when we were still in the classroom. But let's start off with that way. Let's say that I had 3.2 times 0.6, okay? Remember, one thing that we did is that we learned how to write them in word form, right? So 3.2 as word form is 32 tenths. Now, how did I get that? Well, again, if we make a place value chart, 3.2, here I have my ones, and here I have my tenths. My 2, my last digit, my 2 is in the tenths place. So then this whole thing is just 32 tenths. You take out the decimal, okay? And next up, I'm going to multiply that by my 0.6. Well, what is 0.6 in word form? Well, using the same method, I have my ones and I have my tenths. I don't have anything in my ones. I have a 0. I have a 6 in my tenth, so that means I have 6 tenths. Okay? So I have that 32 tenths times 6 tenths. And then let's just go ahead and multiply them regularly. But I'm going to do it hot dog style. or hamburger style. 32 tenths times 6 tenths. Okay, and let's ignore these tenth parts just for now, okay? I have 6 times 2, that is 12. And then 3 times 6, 18, plus 1, 19. But wait, everybody. Now we have this part to take care of as well. I have tenths, right? A tenth times a tenth. And much like we multiply fractions, 1 over 10 times 1 over 10, that's going to give me 1 over 100th. So then that means if I multiply tenth times tenth, I'm going to get 100th. Okay? Now I just want to go over what I did here. I multiplied the 32 times 6, right? And I got 192. But I also have to multiply, my label, my unit, my tenths. I also have to multiply that. Here I have tenth. Much like I multiplied 32 times 6, I also have to multiply tenth times tenth. So that's 1 over 10 times 1 over 10. That's 1 over 100. And so this is why I have hundreds right there. And then when we make a place value chart, let's say that I have my ones, my tenths, my hundredth. So again, you look at your first digit. My first digit is 2. So then my 2 is going to be in my hundredth, okay? And then everything else just follows. And so my answer is this, 1.92, 1.92. That is my answer. 3.2 times 0.6 is 1.92. All right? Cool. But there's actually another way we can multiply this. And we actually learned it a little bit. We started off learning it, I think, earlier this week. But anyways, I'm going to use the same problem, okay? Let's say that I have 3.2 times 0.6, okay? Now, let's try and multiply this, but now using fractions, okay? So I have 3.2, we'll say it. I have to do the same thing. Let's write this in word form, 32 tenths. Okay? But if I have 32 tenths as a fraction, that'll be 3 wholes and 2 tenths, right? So again, I'm switching it from a decimal to a fraction. I have this part right here, okay? But now let's do the same for this guy. .6, I have no whole number, I have nothing, and then I have a 6 in the 10th place, so I have 6 tenths, right? And I am multiplying those two numbers. But remember what I told you about multiplying mixed numbers? Let's switch this mixed number into an improper fraction, okay? So I have 10 times 3, that is 30. 30 plus 2, that is 32. So this mixed number as an improper fraction is 32 over 10, okay? And then let's just go ahead and bring down this guy, because this is a regular fraction. I don't need to switch it or do anything to it. All right, and now let's go ahead and multiply. Use different color. So 32 times 6 and 10 times 10, okay? Well, 10 times 10, I know that's 100. 32 times 6, I'd do it up here. 6 times 3, 18, plus 1, 19. And here I have 192 over 100, okay? Now, what's that going to be as a decimal form? Well, if I have 192 hundredths, if I have a place value chart, again, I have my ones, my tens, my hundreds here. It's going to be the same thing, everybody. If I have 192 hundredths, that is the same as saying it like this. 192 hundredths, correct? 192 hundredths. So my last digit, my 2, is going to go in my hundredths place. My 9 is going to follow, and then my 1 is going to follow. And so my answer is 1.92. Okay, and that's it. You could leave it as that, as this, but it really just depends on whatever your directions asking you to leave it as. If they want you to leave your answer as a decimal, then switch it to a decimal. And if they want you to leave your answer as a fraction, then leave it as a fraction. But here's another cool trick, right? If I wanted to switch this into a fraction, a mixed number fraction, I have one whole and then 92 hundredths, right? And it's the same thing as this. All of these numbers here, they are the same thing, okay? They're just different ways of expressing that number, right? 192 over 100, this is the same thing as this, right? Except this is a mixed number and this is an improper fraction. 1.92 is the same as saying 192 over 100, okay? They're the same exact thing. All right, let's go ahead and do another example. Let me erase this. And let me erase this as well. All right. Let's say that I have 8.31 times 2.4, okay? Now, again, let's use both methods that we learned. So first off, I have 8.31. Well, if I were to write that in word form, let's use a place value chart. I have my ones, my tens, and my hundredths. My 8 is in my ones, my 3 is in my tens, and my 1 is in my hundredths, correct? My first digit, this digit, is in my hundredths place, so then that means I have 831 hundredths. Okay? Hundredth times this guy. Well, if I make a place value chart again, I have my ones, I have my tenths, I have 2 in my ones, and I have 4 in my tenths. My first digit is in my tenth place, so then I have 24 tenths. Okay? And let's go ahead and multiply that. So 831 hundredths times 24 tenths. And you know what? I'm just going to erase that. And I'm going to write it up here. Times 24 hundredths. Oh, let me do that in a different color. All right. So again, let's do that hamburger style. So I have 831 hundredths times 24 hundredths. Oh, I'm sorry, not 24 hundredths, 24 tenths, right? right. Here we go. I'm multiplying that. All right. So now I set up the problem, right, everybody? Now, let's go ahead and just multiply. But again, let's not focus on the units right now. Let's not focus on the hundreds or the tens. Let's just multiply normally, like we're used to, okay? 4 times 1, 4. 4 times 3, 12. 4 times 8, 32, plus 1, 33. All right. 2 times 1, 2. 2 times 3, 6. 2 times 8, 16. 4, 8, 9, 9, 1. And now let's go ahead and worry about this guy. So here I have hundredth. I have 1 over 100. And then tenth, 1 over 10th. Okay? So now I have to multiply 1 over 100 times 1 over 10. I'll do that down here. 1 over 100 times 1 over 10. Okay? So that's going to be 1 over 1,000. Okay? So I have 1 thousandths. So that means I have this many thousandths. All right? And it's the same thing, except now we're moving on to our thousands. So if I make a place value chart, I'm going to do one up here. I have my thousandths, 1, 2, 3, my hundredths, my tenths, and my ones. All right. Now again, your first digit, your 4. That's what's gonna go in your thousands. So my 4 goes here, and then everywhere else just follows. 8, 9, 9, 1. My decimal goes there. My ones is here, so then what comes here? My tenths, right? So then my answer is, everybody, this. My answer is, in the decimal form, is 19.984. That's my final answer, okay? But let me go ahead and just summarize what we did. So I started off with this question, right? Since I'm doing it in word form, I wanted to switch these two decimals as word form. I have 831 hundredths, right? I used the place value chart and I saw that I have 831 hundredths. 2.4, I used the place value chart again and I saw that it's 24 tenths. And then I multiplied 831 hundredths times 24 tenths, okay? But I made sure to do it in hamburger style like this. I ignored my labels for a second, and then I just multiplied my numbers, and I got this. And then I went ahead and multiplied hundredth, 1 over 100 times tenth, 1 over 10. 1 over 100 times 1 over 10. Well, that's 1 over 1,000. So then I put the label of 1,000. I use a place value chart so I can know where my decimal is going to go. I saw that my 4 is in my thousands place. My first digit in this whole number is 4, and 4 is in my thousands place. So then that means 8 goes here, 9 goes here, 9 goes here, and 1 goes here. My decimal is right there, so my answer is this, okay? But now let's go ahead and try and solve this problem using our fraction mode. And again, we're going to use the same problem, okay? So first thing we should do, let's switch our decimals into fractions. So here I have 8.31. Well, then that's a fraction that is 8 and 31 hundredths, okay? And then for this one, I have 2 wholes and 4 tenths, right? 4 is in my tenths place. Here, my 31, 1 is in the hundredths place, so that's why it's 31 hundredths. But again, when we multiply mixed numbers, let's go ahead and multiply, let's first switch them into improper fractions, okay? So 100 times 8, that is 800. 800 plus 31, that is 831. Our denominator does not change over 100. Okay? And then let's go ahead and switch this into an improper fraction. 10 times 2, 20. 20 plus 4, 24 over 10. Okay? And now let's go ahead and multiply, everybody. 831 times 24. Let's see, I'll do that down here. 4, 12, 32, 33, 0, 2, 6, 16. 4, 4, 9, 9, 1. Okay, so I have 1, 9, 9, 4. Hang on, everybody, I'm making sure everything's correct. I think I made a mistake on our last one. Okay, but anyways, here I have 4 plus 0, 4, 2 plus 2, 4, 3 plus 6, 9. All right, yeah, so this one, on my other method, I made a mistake on the addition problem. I'll go ahead and fix it right now. But anyways, we have this, right? 19944 over 1,000, okay? Well, how do I know where my decimal is going to go? Well, again, let's use a place value chart. I have my thousands, my hundreds, my tenths, my ones, and my 10, okay? All right. So my 4 is going to go in my thousands, right? I'm going to start off in my thousands because that's what I have. I have thousands. So I have 4, 4, 9, 9, 1. My decimal goes here. And so my answer as a decimal is 19.944, okay? Now it's the same thing I got here, except I did make a mistake right here in my multiplication. 4 plus 0, that's 4. 2 plus 2, that should be 4 as well. All right. So once I fix that, we can see that we got the same answer. Right here, my answer is 19.944. And here my answer is 19.944. Okay, same thing. But again, let me just go ahead and summarize what we just did. I started off as decimals, right? I switched those decimals into fractions. So I have 8 wholes and 31 hundredths and 2 wholes and 4 tenths. Because I'm multiplying, I went ahead and switched them into into improper fractions. So 100 times 8, that is 800. 800 plus 31, 831 over 100. And then I did the same thing here for my orange fraction. 10 times 2, 20. 20 plus 4, 24 over 10. And then I went ahead and multiplied them. 831 times 24, that's this. And then 100 times 10, that's 1,000. So my very last step was simply to make a place value chart to find out where my decimal goes. So then what I did is I made a place value chart. I saw that I'm going to start off in my thousands. My first number here, my 4, is going to start off in the thousands place. So then I have 4, 4, 9, 9, 1. My decimal comes here, and that's my final answer. All right, and that's it. We're gonna get some practice with it this week and sometime next week. What I think we're gonna do is that we're gonna take our test sometime next week on multiplying decimals, okay? But hopefully it's not too difficult, and hopefully we know we get a lot of practice, so we're ready for it, okay? But let's move on to our science, okay? So you're learning about here, let's go down to your science page. We are now on week 2 of space science. So we're on shaping the Earth, okay? And so this time we're learning about 3 different types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic rock, okay? So after yesterday, you should have read all of this. Today on Seesaw, you're going to be completing a KWL chart for Seesaw, okay? So that's what you're going to do. What you know already about the topic, what you want to know about the topic, and then what you learned about the topic after reading it, okay? So you're going to complete all these 3, and then you're going to give me at least 2 for each section, okay? So at least 2 parts for K, at least 2 parts for W, and at least 2 parts for the L, all right? So you're going to complete that on Seesaw, and then you're going to complete lesson 18 for math, okay? Should look like that. All right, so for your math, again, use both methods. They did an example here. Go ahead and solve them and upload them to Seesaw. All right, we have a meeting today at 1 o'clock. Hope to see you all there. Have a great day.